The upcoming Kanwar Yatra has become a point of contention once again. The governments of Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand have reiterated that eatery owners, whether it's a dhaba, a food stall or a restaurant, all along the Yatra route will have to prominently display their original names outside their shops. The diktat has the opposition up in arms, from the Congress party to the Samajwadi party. They are claiming that this is the unholy segregation in the name of holy rituals and practices.
The Kanwar Yatra is all set to begin in the holy month of Sawant. Kanwarias from across India will collect water from holy rivers and carry it to different Jyotirlings. The festival, however, is in the eye of a storm even before it begins. BJP-ruled states have laid down specific guidelines for smooth passage of Yatra. Routes have been demarcated and the eateries have been asked to clearly display the names of the shops and its owners. In some states, including Delhi, meat shops on the Yatra route have been ordered to close down.
देखो जो मेरी सोच ये है कि कुछ चीज़ें हर चीज़ कानून पे और नियम पे नहीं रखनी चाहिए। कुछ हमारी अपनी पर्सनल अंडरस्टैंडिंग होती है। खुद ही ये ऐसी प्रोसेस में लाना चाहिए कि हमारी वजह से किसी को परेशानी ना हो। सब ये काम तो धर्म का काम है, भगवान का काम है।
The AIMIM has called the restrictions a move to peddle hatred in the name of religion.
ये समझ में नहीं आ रहा कि 10 साल पहले इन जगहों पर कुछ नहीं होता था, पीसफुली सब कांवड़ यात्रा जाते थे। अब ये क्यों हो रहा? और फिर वो होटल पे गए, एक पकड़ लिए एक आदमी को, उसका आधार कार्ड दो, बोले वो नहीं। ये होते कौन? ये विजिलेंटी होते कौन ग्रुप्स ये?
The Congress and its allies claim the curbs are a blow to the social fabric of the nation.
अगर कांवड़ यात्रा के लिए सुविधा प्रदान करती है तो उसमें कोई आपत्ति नहीं है, लेकिन दूसरी बात यह है कि कांवड़ यात्रा के माध्यम से आप एक नफरत का माहौल पैदा करें समाज में, वो उचित नहीं है।
मुझे आपत्ति इस बात पे है कि कोई भी सिविलियन आके ढाबों का इंस्पेक्शन करे, वहां के कर्मचारियों की पैंटें उतरवा के देखे, उन्हें टेरराइज करे। सिविलियन को क्या ये हक है?
The NTA has strongly defended the guidelines.
हसन जी का हसरत पूरा होने वाला नहीं है। अब जब तक हम लोग रहेंगे तब तक कांग्रेस और सपा आने वाली नहीं सत्ता में है।
With the Kanwar Yatra yet to begin, the political firestorm is slowly snowballing. Bureau Report, India Today.
There are several questions we want to raise on this special broadcast. Can any self-styled vigilante group inspect or any identity documents at a restaurant or a dhaba all along the Kanwar route? Who are they? How can Swami Yashvir Maharaj and his followers check papers? For example, it's being said at some Panditji Vaishno dhaba on the Delhi-Dehradun highway. They checked identity papers and they claim that the owner is Muslim, and they say they've carried out digital verification. But is this the job of a vigilante group, or is this the job of the administration if there is any violation of rules or law? And is there merit in the government saying prominently display names, prominently display license so that pilgrims can decide where they want to eat during the yatra? Let's now throw this open for a wider discussion. Joining me on this India First special broadcast, Anila Singh represents the Bharatiya Janata Party, Ghanshyam Tiwari represents the Samajwadi Party, Shantanu Gupta is a political analyst. He's the author of a book on Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath. Nikhil Jain is a political analyst and commentator. But Anila Singh, I want to begin by asking you, vigilante justice, is that acceptable? How can Swami Yashvir Maharaj or any of his apparently 5,000 followers force anyone? You heard S.T. Hassan saying, take down your pants and check whether you're Hindu or Muslim. That's unacceptable, madam.
My Ram to all. And, when FIR was lodged and when the manager of that particular dhaba was called by the police administration, he said, I do not have any such knowledge where Yashvir Maharaji asked this person to take off his pants, so that it can be seen whether that person belongs to which religion. Manager of that dhaba says that I do not have any knowledge about it. I do not know why a mountain is being built out of mole. I really fail to understand. This shows that some politics is going on. And just imagine H.D. Hassan saying that the act is like Atankwad. Doesn't he understand the meaning of Atankwad? Atankwad happened in Pahalgam, where in actual people were asked to show their private parts. And the women, they became widow. And they were told, Jaake apne Modi ko bata dena. This is what Atankwad is. But H.D. Hassan says that what happened is Atankwad. So whether we talk about Congress party or the Samajwadi party or any of the political party which do the politics of discrimination, they love to coin this word Bhagwa Atankwad. So a Bhagwadhari simply asked that can you reveal your identity? So a big issue is being made out of it.
No, but why should the Bhagwadhari ask, and why not the administration, is the point that's repeatedly being raised. You cannot have vigilante justice in a democracy and in a rule of law country.
You're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. No one coming from any caste, religion, organization, whether that person is a padri or a maulana or a pujari, nobody can take law in their own hands. You're absolutely correct. And they should not take law in their hands. That is why police administration is there. But why Mr. H.D. Hassan? Why Mr. Owaisi? Why other political leaders from the opposition? Ye kaun se lambardar ban rahe? Why they are delivering their justice? Have they heard both the parties? Just to come on media, they are giving such weird, bizarre comments. I think that is absolutely in wrong taste. They want to show that government in Uttar Pradesh is biased. They are biased towards Hindus and they are targeting Muslims, and it is not so. Because UP government is doing its work very well. And when it is being asked that you should display your license and everything, why these people are not doing so? They want to create an issue.
Let me get Ghanshyam Tiwari to respond to that. Ghanshyam Tiwari, is it wrong to say display your correct name, display your license number, and let the pilgrim decide if you are Muslim, whether he wants to eat there, or during Yatra he doesn't want to eat there? He may want to eat at a Shuddh Vaishno Shakahari Dhaba if the name is Panditji Vaishno Dhaba, and then when the payment is being made, as the allegation is that the owner is Muslim, if his religious feelings are being hurt, the administration is trying to ensure that the religious feelings of the pilgrims should also not be hurt. Let the pilgrim decide.
Good evening, Gaurav, to you, the viewers, and the fellow co-panelists. This is an extension of a widely sickening mindset. The sickening mindset that starts an election in Uttar Pradesh saying ye 80-20 ka chunav hai, starts with a hate speech. The sickening mindset says batenge katenge. The sickening mindset becomes silent when one of their leaders, a minister, says to Colonel Sofia Qureshi ki terrorist ki behan hai. The sickening mindset that wants to add jihad to everything. The question is that let's take Azim Premji, a very respectable entrepreneur who's created glory for India, jobs for India across the world. They run Premji Foundation. Now, if Premji Foundation sets up 5 medical booths and 10 dhabas, what is Anila Singh's government going to do? Are they going to put Azim Premji in jail? This bizarre logic, tomorrow a private equity company invests in India today, or they invest in Haldiram, and the private equity company is owned by somebody in Saudi Arabia or Dubai, like investments that have come into Jio and Reliance and so many Adani partnerships, etc. Now, have they become Muslim entities? This bizarre logic is used only by somebody who wants to dumb down people, fill them with hatred, create this same model. It's not a new model. The entire untouchability was practiced on this model, that you tell me your name and I'll tell you the rule. अगर आपका नाम कोई दलित है, पासवान है, राम है, जो भी है, right? आप यहाँ खाना है, पीना है, हम आपको नियम बताएंगे. The entire Manusmriti, the BJP, the mindset of RSS believes in this model of untouchability. They want to extend it to Muslims in India, to expand the model of untouchability. The whole idea of batenge katenge is exactly that. It is shameful that the party started in 2014 with Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, and it stands in 2025 asking you to attach jihad to every sentence that you see. asking you to tell who you want to go out with, asking you to tell what to wear, asking you to tell what you want to eat, what's in your tiffin, asking you to display the name of, let's say, Vaishno Dhaba. Maybe somebody had donated money and it is a Muslim parivar, but there are 10 people, Hindus who are working on it. If I am hungry, would you, and Anila ji tell our children that you should not eat there? What if it was a medical booth and an accident happened and the blood is required? Are we going to now ask whether you can donate blood depending on your religion?
Have you
bizarre
ever given any of this logic? I want to just ask you, when a Muslim says he only wants to eat halal meat, do you ever offer all this logic even there, or this logic is only meant for Hindus? Ghanshyam
I'm not saying,
Tiwari.
I didn't say Hindus or Muslims.
No,
The
I'm just
logic
asking
is
you,
plain-
if a Muslim says I only want to eat
the-
halal meat, does this logic that you're giving right now, does it work there? Or that time it's okay,
It's a-
respect his religious sentiments, respect his religion, if he wants to do only that, respect it? Does this logic works there also?
It's a false equivalence because you're equating things with people. When somebody says that मैं प्याज लहसुन का खाना नहीं खाऊंगा, they are saying this is the kind of food that I want to eat. But you cannot equate things with people. What I am saying is, are you going to question a doctor who's saving your life, that whether you are Hindu or Muslim? Are you going to question a person who's giving you blood to save your family member's life, whether you are Hindu or Muslim? And are you going to question a person who's donated money to run a dhaba? 10 boys work there, people work there who are feeding people at low cost just because they named the dhaba behind Hindu deity. Now, and what is the display? Should the display also tell you your past name? That Yogi Adityanath ji,
Anila Singh
Ajay
wants to
Singh
respond.
ji, Purnam,
Shantanu wants
something
to come
else?
into this conversation. But since you said since you spoke of the BJP, you want to quickly respond, Anila Singh, before I bring in Shantanu Gupta?
Absolutely. He was, Gaurav, Ghanshyam Tiwari ji, he was saying this is sickening. Like he gave many of the examples, and he said this is sickening for this government is sickening for that, this government is sickening for that. I just have to say, sickening is what your party government, when when your party's government was there in Uttar Pradesh, sickening was when Mulayam Singh Yadav ji bailed out Waliullah Khan, Varanasi blast accused. When your party leader Akhilesh Yadav, he bailed out Muhammad Tariq. He was Gorakhpur blast accused. Sickening was when you got car sevaks killed. Sickening was when industries were getting shut down because Ughai industry was on. Sickening was when women, girls, ladies, they were not able to walk freely because they used to.
But I want to stay on the current
I
issue
can
for a
give you
moment,
so
Anila
many
Singh.
examples here.
I want to stay on the current issue for the moment, and I want to bring in Shantanu Gupta into this conversation, because Shantanu Gupta, Swami Yashvir Maharaj claims some people belonging to another faith, he says, were misleading Shiv Bhakts, and he and his followers are verifying facts. But it's not either his job or the job of his 5,000 followers. This is the job of the administration if rules are being followed or violated. We cannot have vigilante justice in our country.
For sure, Gaurav. I think any rule has to be ensured by the government. But I think for the benefit of the viewers, I'm saying everyone knows, but even then, Kanwar Yatra that comes in Sawan is a very pious yatra for the Hindus. They take jal from the nearest river, take it to one of the Shiva temples, and then take it back. And they walk miles and miles barefoot, right? And food has a particular importance. Food is not like a petrol or diesel to the vehicle in Hinduism. It is a sattvic food, there's a Rajasic food, the tamasic food, how food is cooked. In fact, you are sick, you should not cook food. So there are a lot of qualities added to a food. During this time, when they're doing this vrata, then doing this tapasya, they want to eat a certain kind of food. That's all. So just display it. Display who you are. In fact, under Shops Establishment Act, under GST Act, you are anyway supposed to put your name and GST number and any details. So you just put the number, that's all. And this is only attached to the food. Ghanshyam is trying to take who is putting the money. The kavars. Kavars are made by, lot of kavars are made by in Jwalapur. Jwalapur is the major wood market. It's made by the lot of Muslims. So no problem. And a lot of kavar people know it. It's only about the food that you intake in your mouth, because there are a lot of qualities attached to the food. And in halal, let me tell you, in halal, there is halal cement also. There are halal banks also. There are halal clothes. There are halal lipstick. Where Ghanshyam said, no, that's not the topic. That's not the topic I want to touch. I will only talk on the Hindu topics. If they want to eat sattvic food, I will not allow them to eat. If halal people, even in McDonald's, there is a halal certificate. Can you imagine that?
But before I bring in Nikhil,
practice
before
the
I
way
bring
we
in
want to eat,
Nikhil,
no, Ghanshyam will
Ghanshyam
not allow.
Tiwari wants to quickly respond, sir. Go on, Mr. Tiwari, respond, sir.
I think
Halal
India today is
banks, it
respected.
seems. Halal
India today
investment banks, it seems.
is a respected platform where fake news and propaganda should not be honored. I never said Satvik versus halal. I only simply said that you are creating a fake equivalence between food
Tell me, what is the
and
fake
people.
equivalence?
Food and people. One is people,
No,
individuals.
you don't. Then
Just-
you don't
just- I
understand
did
what is
not
Okay,
halal.
interrupt
sir,
you. I did
sir,
not
one by
interrupt
one.
you.
Sir,
I
sir,
did
let
not-
Mr.
I-
Tiwari complete his point.
I did-
Let
I
Mr.
did not
Tiwari complete
interrupt.
his point. I'm coming to you.
I did not interrupt you, right? To say that food has to be absolutely sattvic, you look at then the origins of food, which was the field it was grown, who was the trader who purchased the grains. To what extent are we going to go? At one level, you have the prime minister rubbing shoulders with the sheikhs of the world, his favorite capitalist getting capital from that part of the world. Millions of Indians are living in that part of the world, earning their livelihood. And here we have a Batenge Katenge party where the chief minister had charges on hate speech prior to becoming the chief minister, where he himself was in charge of one of the groups which can be termed as a vigilante group. So we have to see this as a state machinery. The state wants this model of sickening mindset to be there everywhere, and there is no defense to this.
Okay. Shantanu Gupta, you want to quickly respond before I bring in Nikhil Jain into this conversation?
First of all, this is not at all a false equivalence, not food versus people. I think Ghanshyam doesn't know what halal means. Halal means it's not a food. Halal is when a Muslim person reading a kalma cuts the animal in a particular way, then only the food can be consumable. So it's person to person who cooks it here and who cuts the animal in a particular way. And about the charges on chief minister, you know how this chief minister's FIR got on Yogi Adityanath? Okay, so one Muslim yatra was going. One person or Hindu person was killed. Mulayam Singh declared curfew. Yogi Adityanath lands up in the hospital. Okay, FIR. How can you sue Hindu people in the hospital? That's what such FIRs. And he's calling the vigilante. You can't see your people. And this is the chief minister who won by.
I want to
exponential
quickly
margin
bring in
Gorakhpur
Nikhil
5
Jain.
times as a member of parliament.
I want to bring Nikhil Jain into this conversation because Nikhil, many are asking this question, Mr. Jain, why this reluctance to display names and license? Let the pilgrim decide where he wants to eat, who's bringing that food to him. It's a religious yatra. Respect his religion and his religious feelings.
So Gaurav, Shantanu makes a very pertinent point when he says that the Kanwar Yatra is a pious yatra where jal is carried by these pilgrims across thousands of kilometers and something that's been running around for centuries. And I completely agree with him. And if a pilgrim in the Kanwar Yatra wants that I want to only eat sattvic food, I think it is within his freedom of right of religion to ask for that, just in the same manner as a Muslim says that I only want to eat halal food. Now, the difference here is that when you talk about halal food, there exist organizations that give a certification that this is halal meat, this is halal food, and so on and so forth. Do we have similar organizations for sattvic food? To the best of my knowledge, I don't. So if I am a Hindu pilgrim, I am carrying that jal, I have this resolve that I am only going to eat sattvic food. Unfortunately, there is no way for me to know it. And to the best of my knowledge, in order to prepare sattvic food, there is no requirement, religiously speaking, there's no requirement that it has to be prepared by a Hindu. It could be prepared by a Muslim, it could be prepared by a Hindu, so long as the other elements are being catered to, that it does not include non-veg and so on and so forth. But instead of trying to bring a certification process like that, instead of trying to inculcate and promote the Ganga Jamni Tehzeeb of Northern India as we've known for centuries, that Musalman Hindu restaurant, matlab Hindu naam pe restaurant rakhte hain. We've seen so many cases where Muslims have something in the name of a Hindu god. And we've also seen cases where a restaurant like a Khan Chacha or a Nazim Chacha or something like that is owned by a Hindu. And a Hindu is selling meat, a Muslim is selling a completely vegetarian food. And that is exactly how this country is. But instead of inculcating and propagating these values, what the BJP and their ecosystem are trying to do is that they want to create these fissures. They don't want people to display GST registrations and this and that. If that indeed was the intention, why only during the Kanwar Yatra? Ask them all the time to follow the law as it is. And I agree with Shantanu, this is the law. You have to put your certifications in a prominent place in the shop that is everywhere. And that's all. That's not just your name. That's GST permission, Shop and Establishment Act permission, FSSAI permission, whatever permissions are required. But why only during the Kanwar Yatra? And secondly, the kind of open hand that goons, I'm going to call them goons, I'm not going to call them workers or karyakartas or this or that. Goons in Uttarakhand and Uttar Pradesh are going around terrorizing people. Whether you call them terrorists or not, that can be a matter of debate. But they are terrorizing people. They are using violence. They are targeting people solely on the basis of their religion. And that is not the kind of country our fathers and foremothers fought for. And the BJP really needs to realize that.
Okay. Anila Singh, respond, because even the Supreme Court called this a violation of fundamental rights, forcing someone to display their names and license last time when this order was brought.
Firstly, a political party which is Hindu and Sikh slaughterer, they should not preach us. They should not tell us what is right, what is wrong. So this is the political party for which politics has always been above anything. So they are slaughterers. Secondly, I just have to tell you, Mr. Jain, perhaps you do not have any knowledge about the cooking. That is why you were saying that how one can know about that, whether the food is sattvic or not. Where it is being displayed, Shuddh Shakahari Satvik Khana, Jain Bhojnalaya. It means that in this particular restaurant or in this particular dhaba, no non-veg is being cooked. This is what sattvic is. Any person, whether it is about you or whether it is about Mr. Tiwari, who keeps fast whole day and then he wants to, and he's outside his home, he wants to eat food. He doesn't want to eat in a restaurant where the same karchi, same spatula is being used to stir mutton and the same one is used to stir dal or aloo sabzi.
Not the point I made.
It's a basic difference. But you do not want to understand this, or you understand, but you want to portray Bharatiya Janata Party as a biased political party towards Hindus. But the reality is, yes, we do talk about the Hindus, the majority population which lives in our country, a great country.
Okay.
You are the political parties who always stood that no mandir should be built, no proper ritual should be followed by the Hindus, all ban. And
Okay, I would like to reply.
you
Okay,
are encouraging.
Nikhil Jain wants to come in, as does Ghanshyam Tiwari. Nikhil Jain, Anila Singh seems to imply that, so if Hindus
They
are
the
now
one who
standing
coined
up
this word,
for their
Bhagwa
rights,
Atangwad.
what's wrong with it? Why, why term it Bhagwa Atangwad, as she puts it?
Gaurav, first of all, I never termed it Bhagwa Atangwad. Secondly, I never intended to say that the BJP is a political party biased in the favor of Hindus. If anything, I would say that they are a party that do not care about Hindus one bit. In the Kashi Vishwanath corridor widening, they destroyed and decimated hundreds of temples which dated back centuries. They are not a political party in favor of Hindus. They're just a communal party.
Did anyone
Secondly, I was never
did
saying
anyone
that you should
complain
not
to you?
have restaurants.
Did anyone
Yes,
complain
ma'am,
about
many
it?
people complained. Many people complained
No, of
about
course
it, and
not.
even if people did not
If this
complain,
would have
that does
happened,
not
then
give you the right to
anyone
decimate
would have
our
gone to the
heritage.
court
Whether
and
it's
the court
Hindu
would have
heritage, Muslim
stayed.
heritage,
So
you
stop
do
spreading
not
lies.
have the right
Stop
to
spreading
decimate
lies.
heritage. All
The
right,
only
I'll
One by
political
one,
party
let's come back to
stands
the
with the
topic.
Hindus, that is the
Let's come
biggest
back to the
problem
topic.
with
We've
you.
debated
on the
Kashi
Your
topic, on
political
Vishwanath
the
party.
topic.
corridor many
Yes,
times.
Perhaps you are
Okay,
not saying.
time out,
yes.
time
You
out,
made a point
time out,
about
time out.
just 10 seconds to
Nikhil,
respond to
complete
the
your
point
point
that's been
before I
made.
bring in Ghanshyam Tiwari and Shantanu. Yeah.
Yes. I am completely in favor of having a Sattvic certification, because if that is something that people want, let them have it. If they want that, I want to eat food in a restaurant where only vegetarian food is cooked, जहाँ पे मेरी चावल की कड़छी मटन में नहीं लगी है, very well, that's their right, let them have it. But then again, that could be a restaurant or a hotel or a dhaba run by a Muslim or a Hindu or a Jain or a Sikh,
Okay.
as is the
Shantanu,
case. But the
okay,
BJP is not
Shantanu,
trying to build a Sattvic
is the
certification.
objection only to a restaurant or a dhaba that may be owned by Muslim, even if it says Shuddh Shakahari Vaishno Bhojan or a Vaishno dhaba? If it's Shuddh Shakahari, cooked in a sattvic way, but owned by a Muslim or has Muslim workers, what's the objection, sir?
See, Saurabh, let not allow Ghanshyam or Nikhil to dictate how Kanwar Yatri eat their food, right? Just display as per shop establishment, as per GST Act, whichever act you want to follow. Just put the name of the proprietor, they will decide, that's all. They're all a proprietors of big choice, right? Just give them choice, they will find out. I think let you not decide, let all of us, five of us should not decide how and when and where and which masala, who will cook, how the karchi will be there. Let them decide. Normal, as per the norms, just display your name, they will decide. If they want to eat, they will go ahead and eat. Then lakhs and lakhs of, I can speak on their behalf. Just put their name. And because of this, in earlier years, there are a lot of fights that have happened. It's become a law and order issue multiple times. So just display it, that's all. What's the problem in displaying it? Why you want to hide your identity? I don't know.
Okay,
if you
Ghanshyam
have
Tiwari,
identity, just put
Ghanshyam
it,
Tiwari
that's all.
wants to come in because there are questions that are being asked, Ghanshyam Tiwari. While the fundamental rights of the seller is being looked at and looked after, why not the fundamental right of the devotee who may want to have the same freedom of choice and decide where he wants to eat, who he wants to buy from? In case he sees a name, he knows whether he wants to go there or he doesn't.
Simple things. Have you come across any aeroplane that you or the viewers have flown in, or in the trains, Sattvic food prepared by Sattvic Hindus, not prepared by Dalits, not prepared by Pichhadas?
Jain meal is offered
This
in
is the
flights.
mindset. I did not interrupt any. This is the mindset
No, no,
that
no, no. I'm
BJP
just correcting you. Jain
propagates.
meal
Second
is
point.
offered in the
Second
flight.
point.
How do you say that?
Where does this lead to?
Why
It
are you
leads to
spreading
a
lies,
model.
Mr. Tiwari?
Okay,
It
one
leads
by
to a
one,
model
one
that
by one, ma'am. I'll come to you the moment Mr. Tiwari completes. But Mr. Tiwari, the point she's making is yes, flights offer vegetarian food, Asian vegetarian food,
Satvik,
Jain food.
I specifically said,
all of that is specific. All of that
I
is
specifically,
specified.
that's there in the dhaba also. I specifically said, have you seen in trains and planes Sattvic food prepared by Hindus only? We as travelers also have rights. Anila Singh ji would have traveled on these planes. BJP has a lots of money. They travel in helicopters and planes a lot of time. They have not seen that. They flagged a number of trains. They have not seen that. Second point, that where do they want to take this to? They want to ensure that these poor people who are working there, shops, etc., eateries, they are marked so that the vigilante that power this government through various forms of jihads that they keep typing out, those vigilantes feel empowered, like the example that you gave. And my final point is, I'll just read from the Aaj Tak website that Adityanath ji ko ke upar 151A, 146, 147, 279, 506 के मुकदमे दर्ज थे, और ये भी उन्होंने लिखा था, ये आज तक की वेबसाइट है, from 18 March when Adityanath ji became the chief minister, it mentions that how Hindu Yuva Vahini played a role in burning 3 coaches of that train where the lives of the passengers was barely saved by just good fortune. So a party that is powered by Batenge Katenge, powered by people who are pioneers of vigilante model, want to create hatred, don't have a solution, don't practice in their own lives. Their children are not going to Kanwar Yatra. Jai Shah is not going to Kanwar Yatra, or other ministers, Gadkari ji, Rajnath Singh children, or any of these people are not going to Kanwar Yatra. They want the poor who depend on their livelihood to be busy with these methods of hatred so that they don't prosper and BJP prospers.
Respond, Anila Singh ji, that this is purely a way to divide Uttarakhand administration. In fact, even Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami, they've gone on record to say it's their responsibility to protect against what was termed as food adulteration, but then also mentioned against instances of thuk jihad like in the past.
Very quickly, I will make 2-3 points here. Okay. Number one, I will like to say here, Mr. Tiwari, you're absolutely correct. Like, nobody can make out that who is cooking the food. If you're not watching that who is cooking, whether that person can be from any of the religion. But the thing, how purely, how sattvically, how in a pure manner, purest of manner, that person is cooking the food. That is more important. And this is what we are saying. We are not standing with anybody who is hiding their identity. And similarly, we are not standing with any person coming from any religion who is taking law in his or her hands. We are not standing with either of them. But we are definitely standing against all those political parties who are trying to do Hindu-Muslim out of it. We are standing against all those political parties who have always said that Hindus, come on, you are in majority, you shut up, and we are going to advocate for the one particular religious community because they are a vote bank. And if you talk about the cases, these cases are being implied by whom? By your political party on Yogi Adityanath ji. ये हमारे समय पे
let me bring in Nikhil Jain on that aspect.
जब समाजवादी पार्टी जैसे राजनीतिक दल सत्ता में आए हैं, उन्होंने योगी आदित्यनाथ जी के ऊपर मुकदमे लगाए हैं. And you are talking about some coaches being burnt out. You are not going to talk about the Samjhauta Express here. You're not going to talk about that. Because your political party was the one.
I once again want to remain on the issue of the administration, both in Uttarakhand and Uttar Pradesh, saying display names prominently. And Nikhil, Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami in Uttarakhand, he says it's his responsibility or the responsibility of the administration to ensure, one, against food adulteration, and like in the past, instances of thuk jihad or spit jihad, as they put it?
Well, that's my point. If indeed the administration's intent was to ensure that no food adulteration is being done, compliance with all local laws, GST laws, and all of that is being done, why during the Kanwar Yatra? The Shop and Establishments Act, GST Act, Food Safety Act, all of these acts don't go into abeyance when there is no Kanwar Yatra. They continue to be there. Why did you not ensure that compliance earlier on? And why is the entire discussion about name? Why isn't it about when was your license last given? Your license should not be expired. Why did I not see an administration order that said that any food establishment whose license is expired, we are going to close it down right before the Kanwar Yatra because a lot of people are going to travel? Nothing on it. We are going to inspect food establishments if they are not following the right hygienic protocols. Nothing on it. What are we hearing? नाम बताओ. क्यों नाम बताएं?
Okay.
चलिए बता देते हैं. That's a legal requirement. But what
आप
is the
झूठ बोल
intent
रहे
behind
हैं
it?
आप
And that
झूठ
is the
बोल रहे हैं यहाँ
entire
पर
point.
बैठकर
Okay,
How
one
do
by
you
one.
know? How do you
One
know
short point,
that
one short
action is
point
not
on the
being
FIR.
taken
One
when
short
Kanwar Yatra
point
is
on
not
the
there?
Okay, Shantanu
short
Gupta
point on
wants
the
to
FIR.
quickly. Shantanu Gupta wants to quickly come in because, AIMIM MP and barrister Asaduddin Owaisi has also raised this point. He said there are several hotels near Muzaffarnagar Highway. They've been running for decades and decades. He says, I fail to understand, there was no issue before these 10 years. Kanwar Yatra was taken out peacefully year after year. Why is all of this happening only now?
No, first of all, this is factually totally incorrect. Just go before 2017. How many ruckuses used to happen before 2017? In fact, any festival, Hindu-Muslim festival, was like a brink ki ab to danga hona hi hona hai. In fact, last 8 years, we don't have a single recorded riot in history of Uttar Pradesh, which is like very common in Uttar Pradesh, and we have seen how it happened during Akhilesh Yadav's time, particularly, right? See, I think the idea is just display the names. That's all. And in UP government has taken a fight against adulteration. Just see, Nikhil, how
No,
many
but
factories of tails
Nikhil Jain asks,
closed
why
in
not round the
eastern
year?
belt?
Why only during
They have
Kanwar
taken
Yatra?
a huge fight. The UP government has taken a huge fight against adulteration generally, and multiple licenses of oil factories, rice factories are closed because of adulteration, because they're not following the norms. It's happening because you only read the news when it's Kanwar Yatra. So it's not that UP government is not doing, because their news are not interesting, not TRP led. That's what's not coming. Just search out. They're doing a massive war against adulteration in UP from last 6-7 years.
Okay. There's another point that's being raised, Anila Singh, by Digvijay Singh. Digvijay Singh is saying, why are you interested in the name? You find out if he has a license or not. Just display the license. If he has license, if he's following the rules, let him serve. It doesn't matter what is his name, because in a name, then people will start looking for religion and caste. Just look for quality.
No, we are interested in both. If we talk about Kalawa jihad, everybody knows about it. कलावा बांधेंगे, माथे पे टीका लगाएंगे, इंटू मिंटू चिंटू नाम रखेंगे और फिर लव जिहाद करेंगे. Name should be displayed, and it is the prerogative of a person who comes there whether he is or she is going to eat or not. नाम बताने में क्या बुराई है?
Gaurav, and a tiny bit.
Okay.
Anyway,
Ghanshyam Tiwari first and then you, sir. Ghanshyam Tiwari, quickly, since he raised his hand first. Go on, sir. Quickly respond.
I think the pace at which BJP is tagging jihad with everything, it's only a matter of time that the J in BJP will stand for jihad. You start with food, you go with dress, you go with people, you go with Kalawa, you go with Sunday, Monday. There has to be a limit. These are people, let me complete. These are people who would send their children to the choicest colleges in India and abroad. They will feed them liberal values, and they want the common people who vote for them to be mired in this controversy continuously. It is not the Taj and the ITC hotels who will face these hooligans. It is the common tea stall guy who by chance name is, you showed Vakil tea stall, he would name Vakil tea stall, and suddenly he would face hooligans. And who will save them? Uttar Pradesh has the worst track record in custodial deaths. It has the worst track record in accusations of fake encounter. It has the most atrocious track record in dealing with people who are minorities, who are vulnerable. So when you are put on the ground by this vigilante, nobody is coming to save you. In fact, the government will pound on you.
Sir, vigilante justice is completely unacceptable. Shantanu Gupta,
Tiwari is a true halal Hindu.
Okay, Shantanu Gupta, quickly, sir.
In UP, in last 8 years, there are almost 180 encounters, and all of them to the magistrate court. Not even a single case UP police are indicted. So I know which fake. See, Ghanshyam Tiwari pulls out this Whatever I think he learns in Samajwadi Party canteen, I don't know which fake encounter. Just tell me one fake encounter which was proven in the courts of law, or even
I
Ghanshyam
think
Tiwari's
India Today,
grind room.
India
I don't
Today
know.
covered. India
Sir,
Today
India Today
covered
is not the court. Just can you tell courts of law, sir? India Today
Fair
is not the
enough.
courts in India. Come on.
Fair
At
enough.
least speak
Our
sense.
debate today
You are a
purely
well-educated
is
guy.
on the
India
Uttar
Today is not
Pradesh
the courts of
government
India,
and
man.
Uttarakhand government's orders on displaying names and licenses all along the Kanwar Yatra. We've got you all sides of the story. Now it's up to you to decide who's right, who isn't, where you want to eat, and where you'd rather abstain. To all my guests, many thanks for joining me. A quick break, but before we take a break, I want to show you images of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who's just landed in Ghana. He's the first Indian Prime Minister to visit Ghana in the past 30 years. The Prime Minister received a ceremonial welcome. He was welcomed by Ghana's President John Mahama. A guard of honor along with 21 gun salute was presented to Prime Minister Narendra Modi by West Africa's one of the fastest growing economies. India's Operation Sindoor is actually being studied world over. An operation that was able, as the government puts it, to achieve its aim in a matter of 4 days. What were lessons from Operation Sindoor? Was India able to send across that message to Pakistan, a radical Islamist state sponsor of terror, that terrorism is unacceptable to India? Was India also able to send across that message that despite Pakistan being a nuclear weapons state, the nuclear blackmail will no longer work? Joining me on this India Today special broadcast is Colonel John Spencer. Colonel Spencer is the chair of Urban Warfare Studies at Modern War Institute. He's flown into India. He teaches at West Point. He's a combat veteran. He's an academic. He's a professor. And he's somebody who goes down to ground zero to study war. He's, of course, operated in Gaza. He's had several tours of duty in Israel and in Gaza. He's currently in India and joins us on this special broadcast. Colonel Spencer, welcome. Tell us more about what you are trying to study about Operation Sindoor in India.
I'm trying to study just objectively what happened and why, and then what were the lessons that both India and hopefully Pakistan and the broader world, I think it will be studied in war colleges around the world, especially when you watch an entire nation change its doctrine. So this doctrine towards terrorism, establishing a new line, that immediate, overwhelming response to any terrorist attack. And like you said, underneath that, no longer with nuclear blackmail, although anybody who's trying to rattle a nuclear saber is reckless. India showed strategic leadership and how that can be achieved by keeping the goals limited and communicating every operation, every day of the overall duration of Sindoor was very important.
So let's take this step by step. You're saying that India changed its doctrine. You were here in the immediate aftermath of 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks, and that was in 2008. What was our doctrine then? How has India changed its doctrine, and when, in your appreciation, did that doctrine change?
Sure, yeah, I definitely walked the ground of every bit of the 26/11 Mumbai attacks, and the response was really more diplomatic, hoping that the international community, the UN Security Council, the Americans, part of that operation. And although we've seen Rana returned, extradited, and that's a great thing, but if you look at that event after 26/11, look at 2016, I know you've covered widely 2019 or Balakot. This was a noticeable change in the national approach, that the military response would be immediate, but also very prescriptive on what was being hit. Like you said, the first step was an immediate response to the awful attacks of April 22nd, to hitting those 9 terrorist sites.
And India's response initially was restricted to 9 terrorist strikes, including Muridke and Bahawalpur. I mean, I've covered counter-terror operations for decades. I was very surprised Bahawalpur and Muridke were hit. But you've spoken of strategic messaging. Explain to us what you've been studying about India's strategic messaging, and in your appreciation, did it work?
Right, in an age of information operations, narrative warfare, information warfare, how important it was for India, one, to send an immediate message. And like you said, we've covered these wars before, even going outside of the line of control, hitting those other terrorist sites was a message. But communicating the reasons for the operation daily from both the political and the military leadership on the same sheet of music, really in a day of information operations, that's the level of communication that has to happen, which actually does keep things contained and directed towards the objective. This wasn't about India responding to Pakistan, wasn't about the Pakistani people. This was about terrorism and hitting terrorists.
So India wanted to hit terrorists, and India hit 9 terrorist training camps, launch pads, headquarters, and communicated to Pakistan that we do not want to escalate, we did not target military. And yet Pakistan retaliated, and Pakistan targeted Indian armed forces. So, one, did India's message not get across, or did Pakistan not comprehend? How do you see Pakistan's response and India's response to Pakistan's escalation?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the transparency, too, was very important. That not only did India send that message, it sent it globally and was very transparent. And the briefings on it, these are the sites that were hit. Here's the satellite imagery to prove that they were hitting. As we've talked before, you know, in God I trust, all others bring data. That was a really big part of this operation. But yes, when Pakistan responded, one, I think there was a message immediately there as well, as in Pakistan deciding to respond, not in kind, but really escalating up the ladder. India's dominance of defense, the integrated air defense that was able to stop all of those drones and missiles, was a message in of itself, as in they were prepared, and then they responded against those 11 military sites, which was a very clear message. I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about that.
Indeed, because I would like to, you know, whether it's targeting Pakistan's command and control center at Noor Khan, right next to the capital Islamabad, or their military headquarters in Rawalpindi, or targeting Rahim Yar Khan or Jacobabad or Sargodha, 200 kilometers deep inside Pakistan. Their best protected assets are there, from the American F-16s to the Chinese JF-17s and J-10C Thunders. I want to come to you on the aspect of, one, 11 military targets from Skardu in Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir to Bulari in Sindh and Malir cantonment in Karachi. But more important, sir, what is your appreciation? And that is something that I'm sure America is very interested in. The Chinese tactics, the Chinese weapons, and the Chinese systems. What have you been able to assess from Operation Sindoor?
I'm still learning and still here on the ground studying, but clearly the Chinese weapons, Pakistan is basically a proxy with all of that Chinese equipment, didn't perform as it was probably sold to perform. Pakistan wasn't able to stop any of India's strikes, which were every one of them, a very strategic decision on hitting a radar, hitting an air defense system, an airfield, at what time they were hit, but the Pakistani Chinese systems weren't able to defend. So again, India sent a message with each one of the different locations, as you said, farther than they've done before, hitting sites showing restraint, as in I can hit you anywhere I want to. These Chinese systems have failed in achieving their mission, and really without the integration, which was really what the master class that India taught during the Operation Sindoor was, it's not just about what you have, what gear you have, although the made in India indigenous Indian systems did show superior to Pakistan's Chinese systems, but also in integrating. That's the higher level of military operations that was demonstrated here, because even if those Chinese systems would have performed like they were told to be, they weren't synchronized and integrated in a suite of capabilities that India demonstrated both in defense and offense.
Oh, that's very interesting you mentioned that. So are you telling us, sir, and are we to understand that while the Pakistanis had their F-16s, American-made Lockheed Martin equipment, while they had their Saab eye in the sky, they also had the Chinese honky HQ-9s and HQ-16s. They were not integrated. Their weapons and systems were not talking to each other. Is that why Pakistan was vulnerable despite having the PL-15 missiles, air-to-air missiles? Because we were told some of the air-to-air missiles performed better than what international understanding was. International understanding was perhaps 150 kilometers. They were able to target more than 200 kilometers deep inside.
Absolutely. One, I often listen to you and learn myself, and that level of depth of understanding. You're absolutely right. There's no war there's perfection on one side or the other. The idea that there's a bloodless war, that you haven't miscalculated. Clearly, India will have lessons here, like that PL-15 and it's what was expected to be its ranges. Absolutely, that weakness in the architecture of the Pakistani systems, which are from multiple countries, like you said, but it's not integrated. Some of them don't even talk to each other, while other systems like the aerial, like the AWACS version of systems seem to have been working, because this was a great demonstration of beyond visual range, not crossing anybody's borders, but still having effects on both sides.
You've been a part of CQBs or close quarter combats, and you've studied it and you teach that. I want to understand, in urban warfare or in future warfare, are we looking at more CQB kind of operations, or are we looking at more standoff weapons and not putting in your ground forces, but using in longer range missiles, rockets, air power? And if I may, and it is controversial, is that primacy of air power that we're talking about in future combat?
So absolutely not. If one lesson I learned going around the world is that some nations make that critical error of believing that it's only that futuristic technology, that drone or that unmanned system that is the way of the future, and I cannot have an army, I cannot have these naval capabilities. That's not the case. Warfare has a combination of low-tech, hard, young men and women doing hard things is a vital component of warfare, and it's when you make that mistake of thinking that there won't be a land campaign, when you lose those capabilities, that the enemy exploits those vulnerabilities. And in this case, just like when India did the briefings, it wasn't just the DGAO that showed superior. It was because of those land-based systems doing their job, even the naval systems doing their job. Absolutely, you have to have all of those joint, from space, cyber, infantrymen, artillery, all of it working together. So no, that's not the lesson of the future, that these high-tech systems will replace manpower that you still need.
What an interesting takeaway, and it's so enlightening. So what you're saying is, while we will require the longer range weapons, beyond visual range missiles, you will still require that soldier on ground with his surface to air missile, with his anti-tank guided missile, with his Zu-23 ACAC gun, his anti-aircraft gun, with that L-70. The entire gamut of air defense would be employed in future warfare. So you'll have that anti-aircraft gun and you will have that laser beam. Is that what you're saying, sir? 100%.
And that's really the enduring lesson of modern combat, is that you need all of those systems. So be careful on what you say, or you hear people say, we don't need that anymore, whatever that is.
So we have decision makers who watch India First and they watch this show. So I'm sure they've already factored that in, and they should. So you need boots on ground. You need that soldier. You need that infantry combat vehicle for quick mobility, and you require the guns. But is it also your understanding that made in India weapons, or you have to be self-reliant in weapons manufacturing and upgradation to be ahead in combat?
Absolutely. Clearly, that was a big lesson of Operation Sindhu, that those investments in making India, from the BrahMos to the Akash to the other systems, was a good decision and a good investment, and it does lead to some strategic independence. But I will say that your allies is your greatest strength. So like India's developments in AI and laser technologies will benefit other militaries. So I'm really interested in seeing where that goes. So complete strategic independence may be a bridge too far, but absolutely that a capability to have that strength within your own system clearly paid off in Operation Sindoor.
Colonel John Spencer, it was wonderful talking to you and understanding what you've been able to gather about Operation Sindoor. And once your tour of learning, if I may, or tour of duty here is over, would love to read your reports and your assessment and what you would be teaching at West Point and at other academic institutes about Operation Sindoor. A much longer conversation with Colonel John Spencer will come up on the Chakravyuh podcast with me on India Today. But that is all I have for you on India First this evening. Many thanks for watching. News and updates continue on India Today. Stay with us.